Sport Clips Haircuts Help a Hero program funds scholarships for U.S. veterans who are pursuing a college degree or vocational certification. Visit your nearest Sport Clips to learn more and donate now through November 11th.
We are Mike and Mike back and better than ever, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line in this hour, they'll include Rob Manfred, Commissioner Major League Baseball. World Series starts tonight. Tomorrow at this time, we'll have John Gruden and Kirk Herbstreit back-to-back. Gruden and Herbie every Wednesday in this hour on Mike and Mike.
I got a bone to pick with Herbie.
Well, listen, you made that very clear yesterday.
Yes,
Have you cleared the air with Herbie?
No, I didn't clear the air with him. Absolutely not. Again, the reason is last week I thought College Game Day, the great College Game Day show, would go to Notre Dame, USC. They went to Penn State, Michigan. Okay, understandable. Cool, understand. Neither one was a great game. So afterward, Notre Dame wins, Penn State wins. Penn State's going to Ohio State, who was on a bye. Notre Dame is going to play North Carolina State, another ranked team, another big game. So I thought game day, maybe go to Notre Dame. Maybe I could be the celebrity picker. I never got to do that. No, they're going to Columbus. They've already been to Columbus. They're going back to Columbus to do a game with Ohio State and Penn State, who they just did this past week. All because Herbie, Mr. Ohio State alum, wants it in Columbus. Or at least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So Herbie cost me a chance to be a celebrity picker by having game day at Notre Dame. Not that they would have asked me to be the celebrity picker, but at least I could have dreamt that.
Well, they might have asked you to
They
be
might
the
have, but
celebrity
now
picker.
you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to have me be the celebrity picker in Columbus.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Penn State is the better game.
No, it's not.
It's the bigger game.
No, it's not.
It is sort of almost.
I know
it's like an elimination game in the Big Ten, right? If Penn State vaults this hurdle, then they're looking at. I mean, I don't want to look past anyone, but fairly smooth sailing on into a potential conference championship matchup with Wisconsin. If Ohio State wins, then they've made up all of their previous sins, and that Michigan game will probably be for themselves a chance to go on and play Wisconsin. And if they win, they're probably playing for the national title, or the college football playoff. So this feels like a CFP play.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
If either team loses, well, if Ohio State loses, they're out.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. If Ohio State loses, they're out.
If Penn State loses, there's still a chance.
If Penn State loses, there's a chance, but they're in big trouble.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If Notre Dame loses, are they out?
Yes.
North Carolina State has one loss. If they lose, are they out?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Enough said.
Fair enough. So Golick is making the argument that was the bigger game.
Thanks,
and they should have
Herbie.
been there. The game, I don't know why you're making this a Herbie thing.
Oh,
you're
come
trying to
on.
create a rift now with
Behind
Herbie.
the scenes, Mr. Ohio State alum, Mr. Ohio State quarterback.
We don't have enough problems now. We need to have a fight with Herbie here.
Wait till tomorrow.
All right. According to FPI, the winner of Penn State, Ohio State has a 97% chance to win that half of the Big Ten and thus go on and play most likely Wisconsin. I mean, overwhelmingly likely Wisconsin for the Big Ten title. And the winner of that game, I don't want to say is a lock to be in the Final Four, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. So this does feel a little bit like a playoff game.
Here's what I don't have is a 97% chance to be the celebrity picker with College Game Day at Ohio State.
You don't even have a 3% chance.
No, I don't.
So, which was left over on the other side.
You understand why I'm a little upset.
The last time it was at Notre Dame, who was the celebrity picker? Do you remember?
No.
Were you there? We were there. We went there.
We were there.
It was the year they went to the championship game.
Here's the thing. I think
it was the Stanford game. I want to say
one of the last contract we did. I think I had put in there if game day is ever at a Notre Dame game, we have to go.
Yeah,
I was praying for that too. I thought maybe
we went.
Yeah,
but who was the celebrity picker?
I don't remember. When I'm not the celebrity picker, I don't care who it is.
But was it? I mean, who would be, Regis?
You know who was in town. I don't know.
Regis Philbin, Joe Montana. We all know the football players.
Yeah.
Who are the other really famous alums from Notre Dame who are not football players?
Condoleezza Rice. She's
big one.
Pretty big one.
That's a big one. Mm-hmm. Vince Vaughn. They had Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn was the celebrity picker. Did he go to Notre Dame? I know he was in Rudy.
No, he was in Rudy, and that's all that matters.
I don't know if he was actually.
Hey, are you laughing? What are you laughing at?
I'm not laughing at anything, but I mean, you would think.
No, you were laughing. You were just laughing. Vince Vaughn was in the movie Rudy.
Did he go to Notre Dame?
No, he didn't.
So you've got you have Condoleezza Rice, Regis Philbin, and a host of other people, but Vince Vaughn, who was in a fictitious account of a player.
And you know what?
Movie.
All those other people you named, when they're there, the players. Vince Vaughn was on the sideline. It's all some of those guys talked about because he was there when Mike and Jake
were.
I get
that. I love Vince Vaughn. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Vince Vaughn fan. I myself would rather hang out with Vince Vaughn than Regis or Condoleezza Rice, with no disrespect meant to either of them. But that said, you'd think you get someone who went to Notre Dame.
So does every single celebrity picker, did they go to that school? No.
Probably not.
No. So all of a sudden you got to pick on Notre Dame.
It just felt a little...
Herbie, now you, both of you dumping on Notre Dame. Really
nice.
nice.
Askew. All right, let's move on from this. Let me play a Louis Riddick on Carson Wentz, and then we'll get back to where we were a moment ago. The Eagles with a terrific win last night. Wentz right now playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL. And I did throw the question out there, which is going to wind up being the better top-of-the-draft quarterbacks? Jameis and Mariota 3 years ago, Wentz and Goff 2 years ago. It's a pretty interesting little question.
Boy, that is a good question, yeah.
So I'd love to hear your take on that. And while you're thinking about it, I will play you Louis Riddick, who watched Carson Wentz last night and was impressed.
What he shows you is that he has such tremendous command of what's going on the football field. He's an extension of the coaching staff. You see him navigate the pocket here to be able to step up and then still see out of the corner of his eye, still see a receiver open in the corner of the end zone here and put it perfectly on the money as the running back converts the route and takes it up the field.
While he's getting hit.
Look, that's next level stuff. That's something you just don't see from a second-year player usually. That's why Carson Wentz is just special. This is the part that's the most impressive. He's just an extension of the coaching staff, and he is manipulating the offense in accordance with what he is seeing defensively and just taking it to the opposition here and just throwing absolute lasers for touchdowns.
You know, listen, I obviously think it's too early to answer your question, but it's a good question that we can keep charts on, obviously, as the years go on. You know, Jameis Winston, he threw a lot of interceptions his first year with 15. He threw a lot of interceptions last year with 18. Has 4 this year with 10 touchdowns. Did throw 28 touchdowns, though, last year. Marcus Mariota, he doesn't know how to throw an interception in the red zone. He's been unbelievable throwing the ball there.
Look, maybe the good news is they're all good.
Yeah,
and that bodes very well for the future of the National Football League because despite your protest, what everybody wants in football is good quarterback play. That said, the whole art of the draft is deciding one over the other. So if you were right now just drafting one quarterback class versus the other, just on potential, on their future, based exclusively on everything we've seen so far, I think I would go right now.
It's tough. And listen, it's tough. I mean, last year, Mariota with 26 touchdowns, just 9 interceptions. I mean, and doesn't throw them in the red zone. Jameis, is going to throw some touchdowns, throw some good footballs. Man, that's a tough one.
I was about to say I would go with Jameis and Mariota, but I'm kind of pausing. I'm hesitating a little bit because the things we're seeing from Goff are really eye-opening. I mean,
you know what they are? They're unexpected.
Right.
Coming off of last year, so maybe you thought he would start to play better, but he's gone beyond what we thought we might get out of him after seeing last year or what happened last year. So jury's out. Listen, this isn't a question to answer now because
it is because it's Too Far Tuesday. There's nothing better than answering questions
good point. That's good
too
point.
far on a
good
Tuesday. Point. So I think right now I will stick with, if I had to pick one class versus the other, I would take the first one. I would take Winston and Mariota. But the other, the newer guys are coming on
just
strong.
To be different, I'll go with this class of Wentz and Goff.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. Okay, we told you 2 guys said they were sorry. Not 100% sure in my case that either one of them had to. I was kind of kidding about T.Y. Hilton because I understood why he needed to say what he said, even though what he said was obviously right about how incredibly bad Indy's offensive line was on Sunday. The other one was from Deshaun Kaiser. Now, this is one where I deferred to you. Mm-hmm. You played in the league. You would have a much better understanding. This is where sometimes a lot of people who sit in my chair, which is to say those of us who didn't play these sports but cover them now, we get offended by well, you never played so you don't know stuff. There's no reason to be offended by this. This is stuff you would know that I wouldn't. Right. Will the other players in that locker room look askew at Deshaun Kaiser for being out on a Friday night?
No.
That's the kind of thing I don't know. And you said no, they won't.
No, they won't.
That to me is the only thing that matters. Doesn't make any difference what the fans think. Doesn't make any difference. Well, I guess it does matter what the coaches think.
Oh, yeah, it does.
But what matters is, will it actually have an impact on his ability to play in the game? And he said that he was in the facility all day Friday and was there when he was expected to be Saturday. So and it wasn't until fairly late in the day Saturday they were expected to be there. So to be out at a bar past midnight on a Friday night is no harm, no foul.
No, it's exactly right. Players go out. Again, I said the big night, a lot of players go out is Thursday night. We would go out a little bit right after practice, hang out, have a few drinks, and then sometimes, then guys would go from there. Other guys, some would go home, some would go out, but guys would go out Friday night as well, all depending on your circumstance, when you have to be in Saturday, what you're doing. And there was, I know there was video of him. He was there. I don't even think he had a drink in his hand. Whether he was drinking out, I'm not going to sit there.
But nothing terrible happened.
No, it wasn't a video like, oh my God, look at that. He was sitting there with a hat on in a bar, at like 1:30 in the morning. So, no, the teammates aren't going to look, askew at that, not at all. But as I said, it's from the optic side of it. It's something that he's going to have to decide. Okay, this is a bad team. I've been benched twice now. It's happened before the second benching, but I've now been benched twice. I've been benched once before this. Things haven't been going well. Do I want to be in a position where there's a camera phone everywhere going to take pictures of me? Do I, even though I have every right to be out at this time, do I want to put myself and my team through that?
So here's what Kaiser said, and this is from Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Quote, I've learned that this is a distraction. We're sitting here and talking about this, and teammates are coming up to me and asking me about this. There's so many cameras around here, it's going to be made a pretty big deal, and with that, it's on me to make sure from here on out I'm not a distraction, and I'm an asset to the team, and not a guy who's pulling away from the ultimate goal. Hugh Jackson said it wouldn't ultimately determine whether he'll start this week in London against the Vikings, and that the decision will come on Wednesday. Kaiser has already been benched 3 times this year. Here's what I'll say. Kaiser is playing terribly.
Yes, he is.
He's on a terrible team.
Yes, he is.
And I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what they were thinking. Why they didn't keep a veteran quarterback is mystifying to me. I mean, some things are second guesses, and some things everyone should have seen coming. You have a quarterback room of 3 guys whose combined age isn't 70 years old.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give the ball to Kaiser and say, okay, let's give this kid 1 year to see if he's going to be our quarterback, and if not, there's a bunch of guys who might take this year, why wouldn't you have one of the seemingly endless array of 30-something-year-old quarterbacks who hang around just to mentor young kids?
You had one in Josh McCown.
You had one in McCown. Now, McCown wanted to go somewhere that he could play. There was a story, actually, the guys on the broadcast this week said that McCown was offered a coaching job, a quarterback coaching job with the Browns to stick around and play that role for Kaiser this year, but he wanted to continue playing, and so he went to the Jets, and where he's actually playing well. But, I mean, a guy like Mark Sanchez, who they're keeping in Chicago only to tutor Mitchell Trubisky, because he's been there and done that and been through the ropes and knows how you prepare and how you study and all the things that a guy who's been a quarterback in the league for years knows and others don't. So the fact that they didn't keep that guy, whoever that guy is, that's a mistake that everyone should have seen coming.
I agree. You have 3 quarterbacks there who all need to learn, whether it's playing or whether it's in practice from a veteran or any situation like that. And they have none there. I completely agree with you on that. But what this does for Kaiser, as I said, the optics of it look bad.
Did you think he needed to apologize again? That's another one where sometimes you say what you feel like you've been pressured into saying.
You're reading. He didn't really apologize. He kind of said, I don't want to be the story. I don't want to be the distraction. I know I can't do that to the team. So it was kind of a de facto apology, not like T.Y. Hilton where he said, I went and found these guys and told them I'm sorry. I think this was just a rookie who realized, every move you make can be noted and can be videoed and can be out there. And while it's your right to go out, he probably has to be a little more careful, especially when you're not on a good team. Because those that sit there and say should be studying his playbook or what, just stop. I mean, to think that anybody works their job 24/7 is a ridiculous notion. You put in your time and you put in your extra time, and then the guys go out. He's not the first nor the last guy that's going to be out late on a Friday night. But when you're a bad team and you're performing bad, That's what's going to happen. You know, you're going to be asked a question. Why are you out that late? Do you think it had something to do with your performance? What does that say about your commitment to your teammates? You're going to get asked all those questions that I said about that what happened with T.Y. Hilton and the offensive line once that stuff goes public. And that's where the word distraction comes into play when you're answering things like that. When you need to really obviously try to improve as a football team, you got to answer that garbage.
Oh, by the way, Joe Thomas tweeted 11 minutes ago a picture of himself obviously prepped for surgery. You can see that he's in a hospital room and he's got a hair thing on.
Right.
And you can see he's about to get surgery, and he just tweeted, "Let's do this," with a big smile on his face. That guy, A, has the best attitude of any person I've ever met.
Does he have a great personality?
He may be the toughest person in the world.
Well, he's got
If I was about to undergo shoulder, whatever it is, surgery.
This is tricep
surgery,
yeah.
I mean, I would be, I think I'd be like cowering in the corner. What's the anesthetic going to be like? He's like, "Hey, let's do this. Come on. I'm having surgery." He looks like he's about to go on a ride at Disney World. He's about to have surgery.
It's going to be interesting, too. If he wants to come back, play, you're talking about him who came in a year before, Jason Peters, who's 35, got hurt last night in Philadelphia. Major surgery for Joe that's going to keep him out the rest of the year. We haven't heard yet the injury of Jason Peters, but I'm just going to tell you it didn't look good, and I would not expect him back this season, and what he's going to have to go through for guys that are both 9-time Pro Bowlers, guys who have been great for this league, and what their future holds.
By the way, Will Kane, who I'm guessing is listening because he just tweeted, but didn't at us, tweeted 2016 NFL draft quarterback class greater than, and he put 5 greater than signs, 2015 NFL draft quarterback class, and it's not close. So he's making the argument for Goff and Wentz over Jameis and Mariota. I could have added us on that.
Yeah, you could have added us. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. You're only, on the show all the time. Never mind, though. I don't mind that take, but not even close. I wouldn't say either way. If you want to choose Mariota and Winston over these two younger guys, I would say that's fine, but I wouldn't use not even close in any case on either side of this one. I do think it's pretty close.
Well, I guess it's occurring to me now that Will Kane is a Cowboys fan. Dak Prescott is in that class. Dak Prescott was drafted in 2016 also. So if you're going to include him, then obviously
no, we're not
better.
including him.
But that's
we're not
not what we're talking about.
No, it's not what we're talking about.
So let's. I mean, if we didn't even really set it up as a question, but if you're going to make it a question, who's got the bigger upside, Jameis and Mariota or Goff and
1 and 2 versus 1 and 2?
Yeah,
is where we're looking.
If you're going to throw Dak in, obviously it's going to skew the whole thing in one direction. We're Mike and Mike. We're brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel. Get a big gift card with every trip you buy. You love Upside.com. That's Upside.com. This Eric Bledsoe business. Well, I found this story hilarious to watch unfold yesterday. But speaking of it unfolding, I actually think that he may have an argument. Mm-hmm. So here's the way this thing goes. The Suns get off to another bad start. They're in their 9th different stage of rebuilding. And they fired their coach after 3 games. And right around the time that they fired their coach, Eric Bledsoe just tweets, "I don't want to be here." Now, immediately everyone assumes he's saying, "I don't want to be in Phoenix anymore." Right. He's making a statement.
And before the season started, he said he wanted out of there, wanted to trade. So it's not like, people were shocked if they thought he was associating that with the team.
So this is brought up to Ryan McDonough, the general manager of the Suns, who says he talked to Bledsoe about it, and he does not believe Bledsoe's story. Bledsoe says that the reason that he tweeted that is because he was in a hair salon with, to quote Brian McDonough, his girl, and Bledsoe just was tweeting, "I don't want to be here." And we have evidence that suggests that might actually be a viable story. Let me play you the Ryan McDonough sound first.
You guys saw his tweet last night. I gave him a call last night and asked him about that tweet and, just to clarify what he meant by it. And he said he was at a hair salon. It wasn't about the Suns or anything related to the Suns. He said he was at a hair salon with this girl and he didn't want to be there anymore. So I don't believe that to be true. So we thought about it, talked about it with Robert and my staff and Coach Triano and his staff, and decided it's what's best for the organization. So he won't be with us, going forward.
Okay, so he doesn't believe it to be true.
Right.
However, Mike Golick has done a little investigative journalism. otherwise known as looking at someone's timeline.
That's exactly right.
And look what he's found.
Eric Bledsoe's timeline. Now, again, you see the tweet, I don't want to be here. Really no context of it. It didn't, hashtag Suns, Phoenix Suns, anything like that. Mm-hmm. Just said, I don't want to be here. Suns thought it was about them, and he said, I was at the hair salon, didn't want to be here. So I have 7 tweets from Eric Bledsoe from January 20. These aren't all his tweets, but I picked these out from between January 29th and September 30th. These are, with no context at all, these are the 7 different tweets. Patience. I need it with prayer hands. This one hurt. Only going to make me stronger. Wow. Thank God. I'm so tired. No context, no about anything, no hashtag, anything. So you didn't really know. This is kind of what he does. As some of our guys said, he's kind of a boring tweeter. But there's no context to those. So could he have been telling the truth?
Do you believe that he was actually in a hair salon? We all been there.
Listen, I've been
sitting there. You're reading the magazine.
I'm not going to lie. When we're out in Arizona, my wife gets her hair done. Our guy, Ricky, does it. He's a great guy. Love him. He was.
I met him at your wedding.
At the wedding.
At Jake's wedding.
They have cookies at that salon.
So you enjoy it.
So I sit there and I enjoy it. I enjoy the company of Ricky. And
I love where I am right now.
Yeah.
With no context whatsoever. Then you might say, everyone would say, Golick wants to move to Arizona.
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
He's happy sitting in the salon eating the cookies while Ricky is doing Chris's hair.
Is there any chance you believe him?
Yes, I do.
You believe him?
I believe him.
There are so many, all those tweets.
I believe
no context.
I actually do. Call me ridiculous. I believe him.
Again, he did say before the season he wanted out. This was right before the coach got fired.
And yet, this is future Nick Eric Bledsoe tweeting, I don't want to be here. And listen, I've sat there. When Stacey's in there, more often with Stacey, it's shopping. She's trying on clothes, and I am sitting, and, you're in that little chair. There's never a really comfortable place to sit. You're reading a magazine like it's an old magazine. The corner has been torn out because someone left it there and took their little subscription address off of it.
Yeah.
It's not a great experience. I don't want to be there either when it's happening.
I could see it happening, but now Bledsoe, so he's not part of the Suns. He's not traded. So he gets to sit around and make money, which is the dream of all of us.
And
do
yet,
nothing and make money.
What winds up happening is they've just made it harder for themselves to trade him because everyone knows they have to.
Yep.
Well done, guys.
Hey, everyone. Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT, home, safe home.
All right, he is on his way out west where the Dodgers and Astros will play Game 1 of the World Series tonight. It's expected to be close to 100 degrees in L.A., and trying to keep cool will be the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, who joins us early this morning on Mike and Mike. Hello, Commissioner.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Well, we're fine, but we're worried about you here. Obviously, heat is a consideration. Forget about the players. They'll be fine, but it's you that I'm concerned about sitting there in the luxury box. Give us a sense of the, you got to be hydrating right now. Give us a sense of all the precautions and the preparation that you're doing for the steamy temperatures in Los Angeles tonight.
You don't need to spend a lot of time worrying about my well-being. I'll be fine. It is amazing, though, the idea that we're going to play a World Series game at these temperatures, sort of unprecedented, but it will be interesting tonight.
Please tell me, though, I know you commissioners love to be in your coat and ties and look nice, and you really do, but there are really nice polos out there that you could get for this type of heat. Is there any thought process to that tonight?
I think you will see me in a suit and tie tonight. It is the World Series, and there's certain things that just go along with the job.
All right.
You get change of clothes, though. You're gonna need that. You probably need like 2 or 3 different shirts during the course of the game.
That's exactly right. Certainly some serious notes about this game, not just the play, but one of the cities involved in Houston and some players from Puerto Rico as well. We know the devastation that has gone on in both areas. So what does baseball have planned as far as those situations are concerned?
Well, we've been very active with respect to hurricane relief in both locations. In Houston, Jim Crane and the Astros donated $4 million. They had specific on-the-ground programs to put together backpacks for kids to go back to school. Just a phenomenal effort in the community. Major League Baseball gave $1 million in Houston, another $1 million in Puerto Rico. In addition, baseball and a number of individual clubs have arranged planes and brought pallets of food and supplies into Puerto Rico. Carlos Beltran set up a foundation with $1 million of his own money. Tremendous generosity. And throughout the postseason, T-Mobile has been running a promotion where they're donating $10,000 for each home run hit in the hope that they'll get to $1 million for hurricane relief.
So that's the backdrop here, and obviously great work being done by a lot of different people as the games get underway tonight. The Commissioner, Rob Manfred, is with us. I'm looking at numbers everywhere I look. The arrows are pointing in the direction you want them to be. TV ratings in this postseason are up 13% from this time a year ago. You had the 4 biggest markets in America as your Final Four this year, and you get the Dodgers and the Astros. So in the World Series here, which is a compelling matchup. So generally speaking, if you were to assess the way this postseason has gone from where you sit as the Commissioner, how do you feel?
Well, we feel great about our postseason. Obviously, we had a tremendous finish last year with the Cubs winning the World Series, and it was hard to figure out how we were going to follow on with that. But we were very fortunate. We had some great teams. I mean, the Cleveland story was an unbelievable story leading into the playoffs. It was great to get the Yankees back in the playoffs, and we couldn't be happier with the way that the postseason's performed on TV.
Let me just say quickly, the last year did not end that well as my Cleveland Indians lost. I don't care about the 108 years and all that, so cry me a river. I wanted my Indians to win. That said, I'm sorry, I just had to say that. So looking back on the season, as we look at some of the big picture things, you've talked about, pace of play on this show and many other shows as well. The average 9-inning game in the majors went up 4.5 minutes. And I know it's not so much the time. We've talked about that, but the pace the game is moving at. Where are you with that as far as being satisfied, unsatisfied, and where it may go in the future?
Well, we're not satisfied with where we are in terms of what went on in the regular season. I am pleased that we've had very constructive dialogue with the MLBPA. That dialogue's ongoing. I really do expect that we'll have a set of rule changes for next year that will be helpful for us. Number of topics that I've talked to you guys about in the past, sort of on the table. Exactly what ends up in the agreement, I'm not in a position to predict right now, but I do think we will have some change that will be helpful on that topic.
Was limitation on pitching changes part of that conversation? I mean, I remember we had that conversation with you one time on the show, and now I can't recall if that's something that was legitimately on the table. Is that part of the discussion?
That's one that is not part of the discussion. No. I think the way I would summarize the topics that are out there are really dead time topics. We're talking about things where it does not affect the way the game is played on the field. Obviously pitching changes could have a competitive impact, and we think we have enough that can be accomplished on the dead time front that we don't need to go there right now.
I would be curious to know, just conceptually, there's such a difference in the aura and the feel and clearly the significance of postseason games versus regular season games. Would there ever be a set of circumstances where you could see different rules in the postseason? I made the comment a couple of different times during these playoffs that the drama that is connected with these playoff games makes every part of every one of these pitching changes so exciting and dramatic, and the strategy of it is so fascinating that might not have the same feel over the course of 162. Could you ever foresee a circumstance where you had a different set of rules in the postseason versus the regular season?
Well, let me agree with part of your premise. I do think, and we try not to talk about pace of play in the postseason for the simple reason that, that extra mound visit, that extra pitching change, or the pitcher taking a little more time to deliver a pitch. We don't worry about that in the postseason because everything is so important, so dramatic. Having said that, while we see the postseason differently, I think it's important from an integrity perspective, and I think it will always be the case that we'll play the postseason under the same rules that play the regular season.
I would completely agree with that. I wouldn't touch the postseason. I think it's fantastic. I completely agree with you there. Again, the regular season, you had record home runs, record strikeouts. Seems to be the all or nothing league from that sense. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a product of, people adopting particular strategies that they think are effective to win. It's a product of the way the game's being taught to young people. I suspect over time, you will see the game adjust and we'll move back in the direction of the type of play that we've seen historically. There's always smart people figuring out new ways to win, and one of the great things about baseball is the game seems to have an endless capacity to self-adjust.
Mike and Mike, Rob Manfred is with us on his way to Los Angeles. Dodgers, Astros, Game 1 World Series tonight. Remember, every pitch is here on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Our coverage tonight starts at 7 Eastern. Another topic that came up under the most unfortunate of circumstances was the issue of protective netting in the sport. And we know I've seen a couple of teams have announced since the season ended they're going to go with more of that after the incident where the little girl got hit. From the perspective of the Office of Major League Baseball, where do you stand right now on protective netting?
Well, we are working with the clubs. I said after what was a horrible incident in Yankee Stadium that, we would redouble our efforts. We're working with the clubs individually. As you noted, a number of them have announced already additional netting, and we think that's a great thing. We're working with a number of other clubs to encourage them to move in that direction, and I think you'll see a lot of change on that topic before opening day next year.
That's something, because I never know, with obviously with league, with unions and all that, some things involves both. A situation like this, is it how can you just get involved and make the determination? Does it have to be each individual owner? There are a lot of questions coming out about that when that happened, about different teams wanting to do that. What would be a process?
Right. Well, we have some guidelines out there for the clubs right now. We issued new guidelines shortly after I became commissioner. I've been reluctant to mandate netting just for the simple reason that each stadium is very different, and it's hard to come up with a single rule that fits for everybody. But I think that it's certainly something that we will talk about again during this offseason in terms of making sure we move forward on this issue adequately. But it is something that I could order.
I like.
All right, I like that.
You know what? It's good to have that in your hip pocket that you could order that. I
like any
that.
phrase in which the last sentence is, it is something I could order.
Yeah.
Well, you find yourself to be more persuasive on the topic if you, in fact, have that in your back pocket.
I would agree with that.
It's a good thing.
We appreciate your time this morning. The last question, we ask all our guests this, is who's going to win the World Series? How many games?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not in the prediction business generally, but I'll do it. So I'm going to stay away from it. There's no win in that predicting business for me. So I hope we have 7 games is my deepest hope.
That's what I was going to say. The big win is the 7th
exactly
game
right.
of the World Series. Commissioner, enjoy it. Travel safe today. And keep cool tonight. It's going to be hot out there. Thanks very much, as always.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
That's Rob Manfred, Commissioner, Major League Baseball, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold.
Just wanted to see if I can catch him off guard. Do you imagine if he said Dodgers in 6?
Yeah.
You think that would have made the headline?
He'll say anyone in 7. I have a variety of thoughts on that. Every answer he gave is the right answer.
Solve baseball again?
No, there's nothing to solve.
Okay.
But there are a few things. Let me just throw a couple of things at you. I'm going to make a few cases for you.
Okay.
And you'll shoot them down, and then we'll just move on with our day. Right after this, stay there, Mike and Mike. I know you're going to call me crazy, but it would not be unprecedented. There are places in sports where we have different rules in the playoffs than we have in the regular season. The most obvious one that jumped immediately to my mind is in soccer, where these games are determined by penalty kicks when they're in the pool play, and then when they get to, the knockout stage, you have to have a winner, so they go into extra time. Same thing happens in pro football. An NFL game they play a 10-minute overtime now, and it can end in a tie. And in the playoffs, it can't. Those are specific to requiring a winner. I understand that, right. And the rules are not otherwise different. But I will say this: the level of excitement of every moment of a baseball game in the postseason is so vastly different from the feel of a regular season game that I genuinely believe I would consider limitations on pitching changes during the regular season and relax that rule, meaning lift it entirely in the playoffs. Because every pitching change in the playoffs is an exciting event.
I agree with that.
Every pitching change in the regular season, when you get 3 pitchers in a single inning, you could smash your head into a wall. I mean, you're just sitting and you're waiting, and that is dead time. What they're trying to eliminate is dead time. It's not how long the game actually takes to be played. This year, between the strikeouts and the home runs, Hembo sent me a note, and this is something they can't do anything about right now. I mean, maybe they can do something about it, but I don't know what it is. About the amount of time there is between the action, if you will. Can you resend me that? I lost the note here. But Hembo sent it to me. Here it is. Games this season saw an average gap of 3 minutes and 48 seconds between balls in play, an all-time high. And it's a lot. And part of that is that everything is a strikeout or a walk. And then, so that another thing is the constant going to the bullpen. And I understand it. You got 6 guys in there and they can all throw 100. I would go get them too if I'm the manager. It's another case where I think you could consider making a rule that was different in the regular season from the playoffs.
Yeah, listen.
Tell me I'm crazy.
No, you're not crazy. Because it's been done already. It's not like you're reinventing the wheel here. It's just figuring out what's going to work best. As we just mentioned, there are different rules for the regular season and postseason. So it's nothing new. It's just a matter of what you pick or what you choose to do. And if that's one of them, I know that's one thing that's been talked about that I could see happening. Now, I'm sure baseball managers and teams will fight back and say, well, wait a minute. This can be important for us to win this game. And we have seen seasons go 162, and we got to play one more to see if we're in the playoffs. So every game we keep talking about, it's only game 24, it's only game 82, it's only game, 104. But don't tell that to the manager. Who's
I understand
trying to
that,
get
which
their
is
team
why
in the
you change
postseason.
the rule, and then every team is playing by the same rules.
Right.
It's the same for everybody. So it's not as though one team necessarily has an advantage, and you could design your rosters accordingly. Look, it's never going to happen. He just said, I can't see a circumstance where we have different rules, and he just said he doesn't anticipate limitations on relievers. And if I was sitting where he's sitting, I probably wouldn't either. It's the kind of thing that a dopey fan like me thinks.
What's difficult is I get what you're saying. So if your starter gets blasted in 2 innings, you want to get him out of there, but saying, hey, you only have X amount of changes. But what if it's an injury?
Well, no, what I'm talking about is limitations during innings, which is to say you can have as many pitches as you want in a game.
Okay, but just not changes during the inning. Okay, I got you.
I think that's a consideration to make. Again, I don't know exactly how I do it. I haven't sat and thought it through thoroughly. I haven't put together a committee to study this, as they probably have and certainly could if they wanted to. So we'll see. Anyway, looking forward to the World Series starting tonight. The road to the series goes right through ESPN Radio. Catch all the postseason action presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on the ESPN app. So Will Kane has added us.
Oh, thank you, Will.
He added us. He then, after we mocked him, he tweeted, "Here's an at for you, Mike and Mike. Why are you leaving out Dak?" And then he responded, even counting just the top 2, I would take the 16 class maybe on Wentz alone. If you were to include Dak, then yeah, you're talking about 3 young star quarterbacks versus 2. All we're really talking about is the top of the draft. You're the number 1 and 2 pick in consecutive years. That's who's going to be compared against each other for the longest time, probably. Now, Dak did come later in that class. But the reason I think that we all think of Roethlisberger and Eli and Rivers together, and that we all think of Marino and Elway and Kelly together, is they were all first rounders together. Yeah. Dak was a 4th rounder who has greatly exceeded expectations. And maybe he winds up being the best of them all.
He may,
we'll wait and see.
But we're talking. There's first rounders, and then we're specifically going. These guys are 1-2 picks each. So I I think you can make an argument for either of them right now, but I certainly wouldn't go so far as to say it's not even close one way or the other. I do think it's close, but, time will still tell.
Adam Schefter just tweeted some encouraging news on offensive tackle Jason Peters.
Really?
Eagles do not believe he tore his ACL per source. MRI this morning to see.
Boy, that would be, because they brought the immobilizer out, the cart out. He was in a ton of pain. It came down on the side of the knee. I thought for sure that was gone. So, boy, that would be fantastic. You can only hope. You never want to see injury anywhere. You can only hope it's not as serious as what it looked like on the field.
And there's a lot of stuff in here also about Eric Bledsoe. Amin Al-Hassan, who used to work for the Suns, said he believes that Bledsoe's hair salon story is true. I do, too. I do, too. Now, he said also that Amin says he doesn't know that it wasn't also calculated, meaning he knew what the reaction would be.
Right.
Even though he gave himself, the plausible deniability. I believe him. What can I say? I've sat in that chair reading that magazine. I didn't want to be there either. We continue in a moment, Mike and Mike.